most of the time, when I speak in a synagogue, or sermon, or Dvar Torah, I begin with something universal, and that would introduce the theme of the address, of the speech. Only later would I raise Jewish thought. And sometimes I feel that by doing so, I model a wrong approach. Sometimes it feels that by beginning with something universal and commonly known, and only then bringing Judaism, it might feel that I apologize for bringing Jewish texts, as if I need to make it relevant, or I need to draw people's attentions, and I assume that people would not be interested in Judaism. So I will begin today with a Jewish thought, straight away, without any introductions. This week we read double Torah portion, Matot Ma'aseh. So Matot is the part that we will focus mainly tomorrow, and I know that your Torah portion, your Torah reading is from that part. But Ma'aseh, the final Torah portion in the book of Numbers, is what I want to focus tonight. It opens with a list of places that the Israelites traveled so far in the desert. And it follows by God's commandments to destroy idolatry in the land of Israel. And it outlines Israel's borders and special allocation to the cities of Levites. And I would like to focus on that part, the last part. You can read it in the book of Numbers, chapter 35. So the Levites, the tribe of priests and those who were involved in the service, they were designated to receive 48 cities. They were not giving any land, but they were giving cities to live, distributed equally throughout the land. The number and size of cities are allocated according to the size of population around them. So it meant to be that every person would have a Levite, or there was some kind of a coverage. So, and 6 of these cities have special function, known as Arei Miklat, or cities of refuge, or in other words, cities of asylum. And this is you can see them on the map. The 3 of the cities to be built in the land of Israel: Hebron, Shechem, and Kadesh. And the 3 were located to the east of River Jordan: Bether, Ramot, and Golan. These cities were meant to provide safety and justice to those who had committed involuntary crime, those who didn't want to do it, but nevertheless did it. So it's important to know that during the biblical time, if somebody accidentally killed another person, that person's family could seek justice and try to kill the guilty party. To ensure justice and prevent bloodshed, Torah introduced the law saying that the person who committed the unintentional crime can seek safety in one of the 6 designated cities. So they were the cities of refuge, literally. If all roads leading to these cities had to be clearly marked with signs pointing in the right direction. In addition, roads were to be straight and in good condition. No obstacle to stand in the way of those seeking asylum. So upon arrival at the city, people had to go to court where it was determined whether they were guilty of premeditated murder or involuntary manslaughter. If judged guilty of premeditated murder, they had to receive punishment there. If guilty of unintentional crime, they were allowed to live rent and tax-free in the refuge city. And only after the death of the high priest, they could return to their home without fearing any harm from the avengers. No reference to the Marvel, by the way. Avengers. So, modern commentator, Rabbi Günther Plaut, wrote about these cities and concluded they had 3 different purposes. A, the first purpose, they are meant to protect unintentional murderers from the passion of avengers. Second, this is the Torah, this is the direct, on the surface. The second, to punish them. Because in practice, these cities became prisons for the unintentional, for people who committed an intentional crime. Once you are there, you can be safe, but not outside. So practically, people were stuck there for a long, long time. And the third purpose is theological, to contain and isolate the sin that's been committed. So according to Plaut, the most crucial aspect is the isolation of sin, because the killing of a human being, although it occurred without evil intent, was a moral injury to the whole community. Because the people of Israel have a special God relationship that was founded on regard was founded on the basis that every human life is sacred. So in other words, it doesn't matter whether it was premeditated or not, the loss of a human life was considered a spiritual pollution of the entire land. So that's the establishment of this principle. The most interesting detail in this Torah passage is the principle that the person should be in the city of refuge until the death of the current high priest. Why? What's the connection between the spiritual leader of the nation and the terrible accident and the unintentional loss of human life? So commentators offer different examples and explanations, but the connection between moral and spiritual level of the society and the loss of human life, or the protection of human life, is something that all commentators agree. There is a connection of how many people die or how many people are looked after well, and the leadership in the country. In this week, in his work that's called Sefer HaChinuch, medieval commentator Aaron Halevi writes, a person who has unintentionally caused the death of another deserves the punishment of exile because he's been an agent for terrible accident. The punishment of exile is comparable to death and in a social sense, because he's separated from his loved ones and home. He's sent to live among strangers. So even medieval commentators realize that being an asylum, being far away from family, being far away from people you love and want to be, is a terrible, terrible punishment. Having to flee from home is an exile, or in an exile, and live in an exile causes so much suffering. It is this idea that reminded me, and that I use it as a connection of modern cities of refuge and modern people who seek asylum. Today we no longer have avengers, or blood avengers, that it's called, but we still have asylum seekers. So this week, Lord Alf Dubs, one of 669 children who escaped Holocaust on a Kindertransport train from Prague, pointed the public attention to a very, very sad story. He said, the arrival center in Dava. Do I have this text? Maybe not. No. So he said the arrival center in Dava, which had cartoons and welcoming signs for children. So these cartoons were removed on the orders of the Home Office Minister. And he continues his speech and asks why it was done. Because it might make children feel too welcome, he asks. So over the last years, there's been a dangerous language used about asylum seekers. They are often described as illegal immigrants or burden to society. Illegal immigration bill, Rwanda plan, and many other proposals and pledges make it very clear that people are not welcome here, and those who manage to reach this country should feel unwelcome. And this order to paint over the children's images, that it was a Mickey Mouse, it was just a friendly children's, it was a nice room, it was painted over. Here is an extract from the letter prepared by Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, in response to the proposed illegal immigration bill. This letter was signed by two of Britain's most prominent imams, both Sunni and Shia, two rabbis who lead the UK's progressive Jewish project, Rabbi Charlie Baginski and Rabbi Josh Levy, Britain's most prominent Sikh peer, the leader of an umbrella body for British Hindus, and many, many more prominent religious leaders. So, part of the letter says, the illegal immigration bill falls short of our obligation towards the most vulnerable. It fails to meet the basic test of an evidence-based and workable policy. We need an alternative approach that reflects our country's history, values, and responsibility. And it is true, people like Lord Dubs were welcomed here, and many other people were welcomed here, and now are giving back in so many, many other ways. People who arrive to the UK as asylum seekers risk their lives. Being far from home is already a punishment that can be metaphorically compared to the loss of life. Even medieval commentators, even medieval people understood it. We must do better than painting over children's cartoons. We must do better than turning people away or sending them to Rwanda. Cities of refuge were not supposed to be uncomfortable. The fact of refuge and exile was considered to be punishment enough. Why do we add to the suffering of those people? And I think there must be another way. Shabbat Shalom.